Eleanor Hawthorne sat in the high-backed armchair by the bay window of her sprawling Victorian home in the quiet suburb of Willowbrook, Massachusetts. The autumn sun filtered through lace curtains, casting delicate patterns on the Persian rug that had been a wedding gift from her late husband Thomas, over 50 years ago. At 82, Eleanor's silver hair was pulled into a neat chignon, and her blue eyes, sharp as ever beneath a veil of faint confusion, scanned the room. The house smelled of lavender sachets and aged oak, a scent that anchored her to memories she guarded like treasures in a vault. To the world, and especially to her family, Eleanor was fading. The doctor, Dr. Harlan, had confirmed it after a routine checkup 6 months prior. Early onset dementia, he'd said softly in his office, his voice laced with that practiced sympathy. It's progressing, Mrs. Hawthorne. You'll notice short-term memory lapses first. Family support will be key. Eleanor had nodded mutely, her heart pounding not from fear, but from the spark of an idea that ignited then and there. Dementia. The perfect mask. She'd always been a keen observer, even in her youth when she'd managed the books for Thomas's shipping company. Numbers never lied. People did. And now, with Thomas gone 5 years, her wealth modest by Boston standards but substantial enough to turn heads, was a beacon for those who thought her mind had dimmed along with her hearing. The jewelry in the safe, the emerald necklace from their European honeymoon, the diamond earrings that caught the light like stars, the will tucked away with her lawyer, naming her heirs as it had for decades. But whispers had started. Subtle at first, like rustling leaves before a storm. Her eldest son, Richard, arrived first that crisp October morning. At 55, he was the picture of middle-aged success. Salt and pepper hair, a tailored suit from Brooks Brothers, and a Rolex that ticked too loudly in the silence of her parlor. He was a vice president at a tech firm in Boston, divorced twice, with 2 grown children who rarely called. Richard bent to kiss her cheek, his lips barely brushing her skin. "Mother, how are you feeling today?" he asked, his voice booming with false cheer. He settled into the leather sofa across from her, pulling out his phone to check emails. Eleanor tilted her head, squinting as if struggling to focus. "Richard? Is that you, dear? My eyes aren't what they used to be." She let her voice waver, a slight tremor she practiced in the mirror each night. He chuckled indulgently. "Yes, it's me, Mom. Your favorite son." He glanced around the room, his eyes lingering on the antique sideboard where a crystal decanter of sherry sat untouched. "The house looks, well, the same. You should think about selling some of these old things. Lighten the load." She nodded vaguely, her hands folding in her lap over the knitted afghan. Inside, she catalogued Richard, eyeing the sherry set valued at $5,000. Second mention of selling this month. He launched into a story about his latest merger, but his gaze drifted to the hallway leading to her study, where the safe hummed softly behind a false panel. By noon, her daughter Margaret, or Maggie, as she insisted on being called, swept in like a gust of wind. 48, with Botox-smooth skin and a designer handbag slung over her shoulder. Maggie was a real estate agent in nearby Concord, married to Charles, accountant who eyed every penny. She had 3 teenage children who treated Eleanor's visits like chores. Maggie air-kissed both cheeks and plopped down beside Richard, her perfume a sharp citrus clashing with the lavender. "Mom, you look tired. Have you been sleeping?" Maggie's concern was a performance, her eyes flicking to Eleanor's wrists, bare of the gold bracelet she'd borrowed last Christmas and never returned. Eleanor blinked slowly. "Maggie? Oh? Yes, dear. Dreams about your father. He was a good man." She paused, as if lost in thought, then added softly, "The house feels so empty without him." Maggie exchanged a look with Richard. "It does. Which is why you should consider moving somewhere smaller. Assisted living, maybe? The Willows has a lovely suite views of the pond activities, and it's closer to us." Assisted living, Eleanor noted. Cost, $4,000 a month, per the brochure Maggie left last visit. "Proximity to us means proximity to inheritance discussions." Richard leaned forward. "Exactly. And with your condition, it's safer. We could handle a house sale, get you set up properly." The word condition hung in the air like smoke. Eleanor let her lower lip quiver. "My condition? Oh, Richard, What do you mean? Maggie patted her hand. Nothing, Mom. Just that your memory. It's been spotty, like forgetting where you put the keys last week. Eleanor had hidden the keys on purpose, to test them. Richard had found them in the fridge and laughed it off as senile moments. Now, she murmured, keys. Yes. Silly me. As the afternoon wore on, more family trickled in. Grandson Tyler, Richard's boy, 22 and fresh out of college with a communications degree and mounting student debt. He slouched in with earbuds dangling, mumbling a greeting before raiding the kitchen for leftovers. Then Leela, Maggie's eldest daughter, 16 and obsessed with social media influencers, who snapped selfies in the garden and posted about grandma's vintage vibes for likes. By evening, they gathered for dinner roast chicken and potatoes, prepared by Eleanor's part-time housekeeper, Mrs. Patel, who Eleanor trusted implicitly and had already confided her plan to Mrs. Patel. With her kind eyes and ironclad discretion, had nodded solemnly. They will learn, madam. Greed blinds. At the table, conversation flowed like the merlet Richard uncorked without asking. Tyler complained about job hunts. Entry-level pay is crap, Grandma. If I had a little startup cash, he trailed off, glancing at Richard. Maggie chimed in. Mom, your jewelry collection, it's just sitting in that safe. Why not appraise it? Leela could use something nice for her sweet 16. Heirlooms should be worn, not hoarded. Leela perked up. Yeah, Gran? That pearl necklace would slay on Insta. Eleanor spooned peas slowly, her fork trembling just enough. Pearls? Oh, those were your grandfather's favorite. I think I gave them away already. She watched their faces fall, then recover with forced smiles. Richard cleared his throat. Speaking of which, have you spoken to Mr. Ellis lately? About the will? The table stilled. Maggie shot him a glare, but he pressed on. Just thinking ahead, sis. Mother's health. We want to make sure everything's in order. Eleanor let a tear slip down her cheek, crocodile, but convincing. Will? Thomas's will? He left everything to the cats, didn't he? She chuckled weakly, as if it were a joke, but inside, fury simmered. Richard. First direct probe. Maggie complicit with the glare protective of her share. The evening ended with hugs and promises to visit soon. As the door clicked shut, Eleanor rose, steady as a rock, and poured herself a sherry. She sipped, savoring the burn. Day 1 of the charade. 3 probes. 2 suggestions of relocation. 1 borrowing attempt by Tyler. On a silver candlestick. He thought she wouldn't notice. She pulled out her leather-bound journal from the study drawer, her true memory keeper, and jotted notes in precise script. Dates, quotes, expressions, evidence. The weeks blurred into a meticulously orchestrated performance. Eleanor attended her appointments with Dr. Harlan, who wasn't on the ruse after she'd sworn him to secrecy with a generous donation to his clinic's charity fund. For science, she'd quipped. He prescribed placebos and scheduled regular check-ins. Each visit a stage for her family to perform their concern. Richard escalated first. He began weekly lunches at the club, where he'd steer conversations to finances. Mom, your portfolio, it's diversified, right? With the market dipping, maybe consolidate into something safer. I know a guy at Fidelity. Translation. Let me manage it. Skim the FEs. She forgot midway through one meal, calling him Thomas and staring blankly at the menu. He footed the bill 150 and left frustrated, muttering to his driver about power of attorney. Maggie took a subtler tack. Emotional manipulation. She arrived with baked goods from the local patisserie, then launched into tales of woe. Charles's firm is downsizing again. The kids' tuition is killing us. Mom, if anything happened. One rainy afternoon, as thunder rattled the windows, she broached the will directly. You haven't updated it since Dad died, have you? We should make sure it's fair. Tyler and Leela, they're the future. Eleanor, wrapped in a shawl, gazed out at the storm. Fair? Oh, Maggie, life isn't fair. Remember when you were little, and you broke my favorite vase? You cried for days. It was a non sequitur, but it derailed Maggie, who flushed with old guilt. Vase incident. Age 12. Deliberate breakage to spite a sibling. Maggie, linking tuition to inheritance first emotional blackmail. The grandchildren were clumsier. Tyler started visiting alone, rifling through drawers under the guise of helping organize. He pocketed a gold cufflink once, which Eleanor retrieved later from his jacket during a hug. Leela live-streamed tours of the house, zooming in on valuables with captions like, "Grandma's treasure trove inheritance seagulls." Eleanor caught her once, feigning confusion. "Leela, dear, is that a camera? Are we on television?" Leela deleted the video, but not before Eleanor screenshotted it on her hidden tablet. Even extended family circled. Cousin Beatrice from Providence, whom Eleanor hadn't seen in years, sent a card. "Heard about your health. Thinking of you, and perhaps a family reunion to discuss matters." Code for money. Through it all, Eleanor played her part. She lost grocery lists, misplaced mail which she intercepted, and called at odd hours with rambling stories from her youth. Each slip fed their narrative. Poor mother, slipping away. But at night, in the glow of her bedside lamp, she reviewed her journal, pages filled with betrayals, large and small. Richard's emails to a financial advisor, forwarded accidentally to her proposals to protect her assets via trust he'd control. Maggie's text to Charles, "If we play nice, 60-40 split with Richard. Kids get the house." Tyler's Venmo request disguised as loans. Leela's TikToks mocking boomer hoarding. Guilt was the thread she wove through it all, not hers, theirs. She dropped hints of old wounds, forcing reflections. To Richard, "You always wanted to be like your father, but you fought over the company shares when he was ill." He shifted uncomfortably, remembering the bitter arguments at Thomas's bedside. To Maggie, "You skipped my 60th to close that deal. Family first, remember?" Maggie's laugh turned brittle. Mrs. Patel became her ally, reporting whispers during cleaning. "They talk in the kitchen, madam," Mr. Richard says. "She's got maybe 2 years. We waited out." Eleanor nodded, adding it to the ledger. "Patience, my dears. The play's just beginning." Winter descended, blanketing Willowbrook in snow. Holidays amplified the greed. Christmas Eve, the family gathered for eggnog and carols. Gifts were exchanged, practical for Eleanor. Calendars with large print. Pill organizers. She thanked them profusely, tears in her eyes, while gifting heirlooms. "A brooch to Leela, but I don't wear brooches." Gran. "A watch to Tyler, too old school." They smiled through gritted teeth. After dinner, as they lingered by the fire, Richard pulled her aside. "Mom, seriously, power of attorney, for your sake. What if you forget to pay bills?" She clutched his arm, voice frail. "Richard, do you think I'm a burden?" His hesitation was a knife twist. "No, never. Just practical." Burden, journal entry. Richard implies dependency to justify control. Echoes his divorce arguments. "You're draining me." New Year's brought resolutions and resolutions to probe deeper. Maggie suggested a family meeting with Mr. Ellis, the lawyer, to review things. "Mom, peace of mind." Eleanor agreed, feigning relief. The meeting was set for January 15th at Ellis's office in Boston. She arrived early, vibrant in a wool coat, chatting animatedly with the receptionist, Mr. Ellis. A weary man in his 70s with a mustache like a broom greeted her warmly. "Mrs. Hawthorne, you look splendid." "Appearances herald," she whispered, her eyes twinkling. "The will stands as is for now." He nodded. "Understood. Shall we proceed with the charade?" The family arrived in a flurry, Richard punctual, Maggie late with apologies about traffic. They settled in the leather chairs around the mahogany table. Coffee steaming, Mr. Ellis cleared his throat. "As per Mrs. Hawthorne's request, we're reviewing the current will. Executed in 2010, post Mr. Hawthorne's passing." He outlined it, 40% to Richard, 40% to Maggie, 10% each to Tyler and Leela, with the house to be sold and proceeds divided. Residuary to charity if all predeceased her. Richard nodded approvingly. Solid, but with mother's situation, perhaps a codicil for guardianship. Maggie leaned in. Yes, and maybe a just for the grandkids. They're counting on college funds. Tyler fidgeted. Leela scrolled her phone. Eleanor sat quietly, hands clasped, forgetting to sip her water. Inside she seethed, counting on, as if it's theirs already. Mr. Ellis glanced at her. Mrs. Hawthorne, any changes? She blinked. Changes? Oh, Harold, I think the cats get the yarn. No. Wait, that's not right. Laughter rippled, nervous. Richard patted her hand. The meeting ended with promises to discuss further. As they filed out, Eleanor caught Maggie's whisper to Richard. She's worse. We need to act soon before she signs everything to some shelter. Act soon. The spark flared to inferno. Spring thawed the ground, but not Eleanor's resolve. She deepened the act, wandering in the garden, calling Mrs. Patel by her mother's name. Neighbors clucked sympathy. The family ramped up visits. Richard installed a camera in the hallway, for safety, which she disabled nightly. Maggie brought forms for medical directives, slipping in questions about asset liquidation. Betrayals piled like snowdrifts. One balmy April day, Tyler arrived unannounced. To mow the lawn, he cornered her in the study. Grandma, I need $10,000. For a business idea. You won't even miss it. She feigned bewilderment. Business? Like your father's ships? Thomas had loaned Richard startup cash once. He'd squandered it on a failed venture. Tyler's face hardened. Yeah, whatever. Just sign here. He slid a withdrawal slip across the desk. Eleanor misplaced her glasses, buying time. When he left empty-handed, frustrated, she added, Tyler, forgery attempt. Mirrors Richard's 1995. Embezzlement from company funds 2000. Forgiven for family. Leela's betrayal was digital. Eleanor accidentally liked an old post on Facebook, a family photo from Thomas's funeral, captioned by Leela. Rip Grandpa. Can't wait for the payout. Hashtag blessed. The like went viral in their circle. Leela called, panicked. Gran, you saw that? It was a joke. Joke? Eleanor echoed, voice breaking. Your grandfather would be heartbroken. Silence. Then tears from Leela. Guilt seed planted. By summer, the heat mirrored Eleanor's inner fire. She hosted a garden party, lavender in bloom, string lights twinkling. The family came in mass, dressed in linens, toasting her good days. But as dusk fell and wine flowed, truth spilled. Richard, 3 glasses in. Mom, the house, it's too big. Sell it. Move in with me. My place has a mother-in-law suite. Maggie. Or us. The kids love you. Eleanor smiled serenely. With you? Oh, that sounds lovely. But who would take the jewelry? It's heavy to pack. They pounced. Richard. I'll store it. Maggie. No. We have a safe. Tyler. I could sell some pieces, get fair market value. Leela giggled. Auction it on eBay. The reading began. Assets listed. House. Portfolio. Jewels. Casts as bequests unfolded. Mrs. Patel. The home. Foundation. Millions. Grandkids. $1 each. Maggie's voice cracked. This can't be. The old will. Superseded. Ellis intoned. Signed September 2nd. Witnessed. Tyler's face paled. Grandma. What the hell? Language, Tyler. Eleanor's tone was steel. Though I suppose hell is apt. Richard surged forward. Incapacity. She was incompetent. Oh, but I was. She produced a journal, thick as a Bible, flipping to dated entries. June 12th. You suggested assisted living to lighten the load. July 3rd. Email to Fidelity Advisor, consolidate under my oversight. She read verbatim, voices mimicking their own. Maggie's hands flew to her mouth. Leela sobbed. Gran, the post-it was a joke. A joke that trended. Leela, hashtag inheritance goals. Charming. Tyler, you spied on us? No, dear. I listened, as you whispered about my condition in the kitchen. 2 years tops. We wait. Richard blustered. This is blackmail. Proof, she corrected. Dr. Harlan's reports? Fabricated with his consent for this. She nodded to Ellis, who slid over affidavits. Power of attorney? The one you forged, Tyler. Traced to your IP. The room spun into chaos. Accusations flew. You played us. How could you? Maggie collapsed into a chair, weeping. Mom, we loved you. Love? Eleanor's laugh was bitter wine. Love doesn't appraise heirlooms at dinner, doesn't petition courts while toasting health. You saw a fading widow, ripe for plucking, but I remembered every whisper, every glance, every betrayal. She paced, gown whispering, Richard, you fought your father on his deathbed over shares. Called him stubborn old fool, now echoes. Maggie, you broke my vase at 12. Lied for weeks, same deceit in your tuition please. Tyler, your loans mirror your father's embezzlement. Leela, vanity over legacy. Guilt bloomed, raw and red. Richard deflated, eyes downcast. We were scared. For you. Scared for yourselves. She stopped before the window, sun gilding her silhouette. Thomas built this with honest sweat. I guarded it with sharper eyes. You? You chipped away, thinking fog hid your blades. Ellis cleared his throat. The document is ironclad. Contests will fail, evidence abounds. Maggie reached out. Please, Mom. Change it back. We're family. Family shares burdens, not just bounties. You lost that privilege when greed whispered louder than blood. They left in stunned silence, Richard stalking to his car. Maggie clutching Leela. Tyler slinging insults at the wind. Doors slammed. Engines roared away. Alone with Mrs. Patel and Ellis, Eleanor exhaled. Champagne, Indira? Harold? They toasted to remembrance, to justice. In the days that followed, letters arrived, apologies laced with pleas. Richard, forgive my ambition. Maggie, I was desperate. Tyler and Leela, curt regrets, demanding explanations. She replied once, collectively, guilt is your inheritance now. Wear it well. It suits you. The house transformed. Mrs. Patel oversaw renovations. The garden became a haven for local youth. Eleanor volunteered at the foundation, her story anonymized, inspiring donors. Whispers in Willowbrook. The Hawthorne witch got her due. But in quiet moments by the bay window, she traced Thomas's photo. We played them, love, and won. No more fading. Only fierce, unyielding light.